I never imagined a billionaire would follow me home. What he discovered changed my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced, pounding against my ribcage like a restless bird. I moved through the gritty alleyways of my little town, shadows creeping around me like watching eyes. I thought I was alone. I thought I was safe. Then there he was. A figure stood at the entrance, draped in an aura of wealth I had only seen in glossy magazines. A sharp suit, slicked back hair, and eyes like dark pools of mystery. I froze. Why was he here? What did he want? My fingers trembled around my worn-out backpack, its fabric a stark contrast to the luxury that surrounded him. He said my name like a whisper. Mia. I felt a shiver race up my spine. Goosebumps spiked along my arms. How did he know me? I was just a struggling artist, painting the same lonely canvases in a dilapidated studio. I peered past him, scanning for cameras or security. There was nothing, just a haunting silence enveloping us. But it didn't end there. As he stepped closer, the sunlight glinted off his watch, a testament to the kind of world I only dreamed of. My heartbeat quickened. Voices echoed in my head, my parents' worries about financial ruin, my friends teasing about my lack of success, my own fears of never making it. The weight was suffocating. Can we talk? He asked, his voice calm yet intense. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But curiosity clutched my throat. What did a billionaire want with me? I glanced back at my musty apartment, the peeling paint, the broken dreams. I could feel my heart pulling in two directions, one towards the comfort of my familiar life, the other into the unknown with this enigmatic man, and so, I stepped closer to the edge of something extraordinary. The air crackled with energy, a collision of our two worlds. What could I possibly offer him? My paintings? My passion? The thoughts sent my mind racing. As he leaned in, I saw a flicker of something. Was it fear? Regret? My world tilted for a moment, and then he whispered something that turned my insides to ice. You have something I need. My breath caught, and all I could think was, what could he possibly want from me? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air hung heavy between us, thick with unspoken fears and unnameable desires. I waited, each second stretching into eternity as I tried to decipher the storm behind his eyes. He was a billionaire, yet here he was, seeking something from a struggling artist living in a crumbling studio. What could possibly intertwine our fates? I'm looking for inspiration, he breathed, as if confessing a secret that could shatter the very fabric of his existence. The words echoed in my mind, but I struggled to grasp their meaning. Inspiration? From me? It's not that simple, I said, my voice trembling. You're in the wrong place. On the contrary, he replied, a hint of intensity transforming his expression. I think I'm in the perfect place. And I believe you're the perfect person. I shied away, unsettled by the sincerity in his gaze mixed with the wildness of my own doubts. You think a few paintbrushes and canvases can provide what you're looking for? I'm just trying to survive day by day, not inspire billionaires. His silence hung between us, heavy yet illuminating. The street around us felt suddenly distant, the shadows murmuring as if eavesdropping on our exchange. With every fleeting moment, I dared to indulge in a fragile dream of being seen, of being enough. What if I can change that? What if I could help you? He said, moving a step closer. My breath hitched. You don't know the struggles I face, the weight on my shoulders. But I can help you, he insisted, and there was such conviction in his voice that it stung. If we delve into this together, I might find what I'm looking for, and you can find the confidence or connections you've been seeking. The audacity of his words struck me. It felt manipulative, yet for a fleeting moment, something flickered in my chest. Hope. Perhaps I could step out of the shadows of your existence if only I dared to trust him. He would pay for my art, fund my dreams, maybe even unveil a path I had never considered. But along with that hope came a tidal wave of doubt. Was he genuinely interested in me and my work, or was he merely searching for another piece of art to plaster on the walls of his perfectly curated world? Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the alley to our left, jolting me upright. A group of rowdy men spilled from a nearby bar, their laughter slurred, their intentions less than noble. My stomach plummeted as they started walking our way, the tension thickening like suffocating fog. "Let's go," I whispered, instinctively pulling away. But his grip on my arm was firm. "Stay here." I looked up into his eyes and saw the sudden chanhe of fierce determination flared within. "Trust me," he said, each syllable laden with urgency. And against every instinct telling me to flee, I nodded. He took my hand, weaving us through the shadows and into the safe cocoon of his presence. We moved swiftly, his posture commanding yet strangely protective, guiding me into a corner of the alley where the light could barely seep through. The men were too occupied with their revelry to notice us, but my pulse raced. Here I was, locked between two worlds: uncertainty and unshakable fear, desire and distrust. After a few heartbeats, the raucous laughter faded into the distance. I exhaled, half relieved, half exhilarated. "Why did you follow me, really?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, betraying the turmoil inside. His gaze softened, and for a moment, I saw the vulnerability beneath the polished exterior, like a rare glimpse of cracked porcelain. "I have my demons too, Mia. Just like you." I swallowed hard, the weight of our shared secrets collapsing the distance between us. But before I could respond, his phone vibrated violently in his pocket. He cursed under his breath, glancing at the screen with an urgency that sliced through the air. "I need to take this," he murmured, stepping back from me, the connection severing as harshly as his words hung in the air. "Wait here." In that moment, I was once again faced with the choice of whether to step into the unknown or retreat back to the safety of my past. My heart raced as the shadows wrapped around me tighter, pulse echoing in my ears. "Please don't go," I managed to say, the words tumbling out before I could catch them. His eyes flickered to mine, hesitating for just a heartbeat before he turned away, disappearing into the far reaches of the alley as the weight of unspoken promises hung heavy in the air. And with his absence came an overwhelming realization: a storm was brewing, and we were its eye. My phone buzzed in my pocket, tearing me from my thoughts. I grabbed it, my pulse quickening to a frenzied tempo as I read the message. "Mia, we need to talk about your father. It's urgent." The world tilted again, this time threatening to plunge me into an abyss I had long avoided. Hope mingled with trepidation as I stood in the alley, engulfed by the fading sounds of the raucous laughter and the enveloping darkness that felt almost suffocating. The message on my phone pulsated in my hand, its urgency clawing at what little composure I possessed. I took a deep breath, feeling my heart race, the familiar fear of confronting my father creeping back into the forefront of my mind. How much had he found out? What did he want from me now? My father was an enigma, one that lingered in my thoughts like an insidious shadow, his influence permeating my life even when I tried to escape it. As the weight of that looming conversation settled in my chest, I couldn't shake the feeling that the fragile connection I had with the billionaire was now at stake. I glanced back toward the entrance of the alley, hoping to catch a glimpse of him, to find solace in his presence amidst the chaos that threatened to engulf me. But he had vanished, leaving only reminders of our encounter dancing in the air, a swirling mix of fear, hope, and frustration. I tugged my phone from my pocket again and stared at the message, pondering whether to reply or ignore it altogether. Instead, I turned and stumbled from the refuge of the alley. I tripped over the cracked pavement, catching my balance just in time. The streetlights flickered overhead as I meandered toward home, where hundreds of paintings filled the cramped space that was my sanctuary and prison alike. Each was an extension of my inner world, a way to tackle the turmoil I could never articulate. As I approached the door, my fingers paused on the handle. I could hear the faint sounds of music drifting up from the street below, laughter leaking through windows that illuminated lives seemingly untouched by the weight I bore. I thought of calling my mother, but picked up my phone only to realize she wouldn't have any answers for me. Only more questions. Her reluctance to engage with my father echoed in my own fears. I stepped inside, the familiar scent of oil paints and turpentine wrapping around me like an old, worn blanket. Each brushstroke, every hue, was drenched in the sunsets I had captured and the heartbreak I had tried to drown on canvas. The dim lighting revealed my latest piece, a portrait of a figure half in shadow. It resonated with my inner struggle, its own mystery mirroring my life, staring back at me with haunting eyes. It became my solace, my compass, but any inkling of victory quickly dimmed as I recalled the message that threatened to shatter my fragile peace. I sank into the moldy couch and stared at the canvas that held my endless longing. What if I allow my father back into my life, only to have him destroy the fragile progress I had made? The idea of trust was foreign to me. I had trusted my father once, and that trust had dissolved into bitterness. Just then, my phone buzzed again, and I opened the message without thinking. "I'm already in the area. Can we meet?" My heart clenched. It was him, the billionaire who had emerged from the shadows of my life so unexpectedly, suddenly tasked with an offer that seemed to glimmer with possibilities and pitfalls alike. Could he be my way out? A lifeline into a world that felt both daunting and thrilling? I remembered the intensity of his gaze, the warmth of his hand gripping mine, and the sense of safety I had felt, however fleeting. I responded, my fingers shaking slightly as I typed, where, as I awaited his reply, I allowed myself to indulge in a flicker of rebellion, a departure from my self-imposed isolation. Maybe he could inspire me, perhaps his wealth could fund my art, leading to a breakthrough I had yet to imagine. Yet just as quickly, anxiety squeezed my heart. The world I had built wasn't meant for someone like him, a man crafted of polished appearances and unyielding power. The screen lit up again, pulling me from my spiral of thoughts. 10 minutes. I'll be at the corner coffee shop. I swallowed hard, battling the whirlwind of emotions within me. I could feel my heart dancing between fear and hope, and another part of me, one that was deeply instinctual, warned against rushing blindly into something that might end in disappointment. Time stretched as I gathered the courage to step back out into the world. I could turn back and avoid the vulnerability, but something far more potent called to me, an inner whisper urging me to embrace the chaos. I slipped on my jacket and summoned every ounce of will to walk out the door once again. As I made my way through the darkened streets, the moonlight guided my path, casting an ethereal glow on everything around me. With every step, I felt the familiar weight of doubt, but soon it blended with a tentative excitement that propelled me forward. The coffee shop glowed ahead like a beacon, and as I entered, the warmth enveloped me momentarily. I scanned the small, bustling space, searching for him, heart racing at the thought of what our meeting could lead to. His figure finally came into view, casually leaning against the barista counter, his presence commanding even among the slight chaos of laughter and friends around. He looked up, his face transforming into a soft smile that felt like an instant reassurance. But as I stepped closer, the mood shifted. I could feel the world retracting into silence. Suddenly, his phone chimed once more, echoing through the brief lull that had settled between us. His expression faltered, confusion painting his features as he opened the message, and when enraptured anticipation turned to alarm, I knew something had changed. Before I could ask what was wrong, he looked me in the eyes, darkening with urgency. "I have to go," he gasped, the words tumbling out as he grabbed my hand tightly. "Now!" Panic surged as he pulled me toward the exit. Outside, the world spun into chaos once more, as headlights swerved past us, and a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness and menace. I gasped, the thrill of possibility quickly shattering as fear washed over me. "Who is that?" My question trembled in the air, uncertain if I truly wanted an answer. He turned, fierce resolve in his eyes. Someone from my past, someone I thought I had lost. And just like that, my reality compressed into a single moment. The cliff I had been standing upon, finally daring to leap into the unknown, was now crumbling beneath my feet. As the shadows closed in, we were thrust into a storm neither of us had ever anticipated. The only certainty laid in the electric connection we shared, now shrouded in turmoil, as the streets descended into chaos around us. The sound of footsteps echoed ominously as we fled the coffee shop, the cacophony of distant sirens piercing the night. I glanced over my shoulder, heart thundering, and met his eyes, pools of urgency and restrained fear. The ghostly figure in pursuit hovered at the edges of my consciousness, like a thundercloud threatening to unleash its fury. "What do you mean, someone from your past?" I managed to ask, voice trembling as we darted down the sidewalk. Each hurried step seemed to pull me deeper into a spiraling unknown, straining at the bonds of my carefully constructed world. His grip on my hand tightened. Just don't look back. Not yet. Fear twisted within me, piquing curiosity. How could shadows from his past draw such a reaction? Was I an intended target, or merely a pawn in a game far larger than either of us? Distant laughter filtered through the air, a mocking reminder of lives untouched by what was unfolding between us. I thought back to my own past, the pain and heartbreak that had wedged itself between me and the fragile connection I was beginning to forge. The paradox of the moment swirled with possibilities and the ugly specters of dread. Where are we going? The question slipped out as we darted around a corner, seeking refuge in a narrow alley. The familiar scent of the city mingled with adrenaline, framing the backdrop of this surreal moment. To a safe place. Somewhere we can talk, he replied breathlessly, tugging me along. It's not safe to stop here. With each pulse of my heart, further layers of his secretive self peeled away, revealing vulnerability I hadn't anticipated under the polished veneer of his billionaire facade. I sensed that our encounter was about to pivot from mere intrigue to something far more serious. We paused just outside an old brick building, its weathered facade a testament to stories waiting to be unearthed. He glanced over his shoulder, still vigilant, then ushered me inside an unexpectedly warm and inviting space, full of character. I took a deep breath as we stepped out of the chaos, but newfound safety was still threaded with uncertainty. Why are they after you? I asked, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. I needed clarity, a thread to hold onto amidst the storm of emotions flooding between us. He leaned against the wall, and for the first time I saw the crack in his stoic mask. There are things in my life I didn't want to bring into yours, he confessed, a hurried breath escaping his lips. Things I hoped I had buried. My breath hitched, the weight of his admission lingering like a dense fog. But you didn't know I'd be dragged into it, I whispered, the pang of uncertainty echoing in my chest. It struck deep, resonating with the reality of seeing my own life unravel before my eyes. I had ventured into uncharted waters, seeking hope and a connection, only to stand at the intersection of danger. Believing I could keep you safe was naive, he said, voice low but steady, as he moved closer, trying to bridge the chasm of our turmoil with sincerity. But I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I care too much. The earnestness in his gaze ensnared me, unraveling a thread of connection that had begun to weave itself in the space between us. Care? The word lingered. What did it mean in the haze of this confusion? More than I should, he admitted, a touch of sadness in his eyes. I've been drawn to you since the moment we met, but now I'm just afraid in jeopardizing everything. An unexpected flicker of warmth ignited within the core of my anxiety, a connection pulsating against the cold reality of our emotions. But that light dimmed when the door creaked ominously behind us, echoing like a herald of impending doom. He straightened, tension radiating from him as he placed himself in front of me, a formidable barrier against whatever threat awaited. My stomach clenched in anticipation, and I willed my racing heart to quiet, but the air around us thrummed with electric uncertainty. As the figure from earlier stepped into the room, cloaked in shadows, recognition crashed over me like a tidal wave. It was someone I never expected, someone who could fracture the fragile world wed carved between us. Glad to see you again, the figure sneered, eyes narrowing on my companion as if sharpening a blade. And I see you've brought a friend. How quaint. Imminent danger hung heavily in the air, intertwining with the raw emotions threatening to tear me apart. My mind reeled, grappling between my instinct to flee and the resoluteness to uncover the truth that had come rushing forward like a reckoning. This isn't over, the dark figure hissed, taking a step closer. Not by a long shot. The moment hung suspended in time, conflict surging with palpable intensity. The air crackled with tension, and I took a step back, the creeping sensation that all I had built, my art, my independence, my heart teetered on the brink of destruction. With every breath, the shadows converged, pulling us deeper into this unpredictable reality. What do you want? I managed to croak out, voice strained but determined, but before any answer came, a click resonated through the stillness, a gun being cocked, the world narrowing into dizzying focus, pulling us into a spiral where every decision could lead to devastation or hope. The stakes had been raised, and in that moment, all semblance of safety evaporated like smoke, leaving only the undeniable truth: our fates were intertwined in ways we had yet to grasp fully. The click of the gun reverberated through the dimly lit space, a sound that shattered the fragile cocoon of safety I had been clinging to. My heart raced, a frantic drumbeat underscoring the encroaching shadows. The figure before us, his expression twisted with malice, had pulled us into a reality I had never wanted to confront. Is this how you treat old friends, Jason? he taunted, his voice smooth as silk yet laced with venom. I expected a warmer welcome. Jason stiffened, arms rigid as he shielded me behind him. The tension between the men was palpable, a sharp contrast to the warmth Jason had drawn me into mere moments earlier. "Back off, Marcus," Jason warned, his voice low but fierce. "You're making a mistake. Am I?" Marcus laughed, a dark, hollow sound. "So naive. You think you can just walk away? You think you can create a little paradise with your art and your little friend here?" His gaze flicked to me, eyes narrowing with a predatory gleam. "You have no idea what's really at stake." Each word landed with heavy weight, a cruel reminder of my naivety. This world of danger hadn't been on my radar until just now, and I could feel the edges of my carefully constructed life peeling away like the walls of a peeling room. My heart ached at the thought of Jason, in his bid to save me, caught in the clutches of a past that could swallow both of us whole. "What do you want from him?" I asked, my voice trembling but laced with a threat of defiance. "Just let us go." Marcus' smile widened, revealing a glimmer of teeth that felt more menacing than friendly. "Oh, sweetheart, it's far too late for that. He owes me and I don't take kindly to being shortchanged." "But don't worry," he purred, dark amusement dripping from his words. "I don't mind sharing." My stomach twisted as I stepped slightly from behind Jason, seeking his eyes. "You don't have to protect me," I urged him softly, casting a glance at Marcus. "Whatever this is, we can handle it together." Jason's expression darkened, his eyes raging with a mixture of fear and determination. "No one is taking you anywhere," he replied fiercely. "I'll fight for you, I promise." The words enveloped me like a warm embrace, yet their potency faded against the backdrop of escalating danger. My heart yearned for his protective spirit, but I knew we were teetering on a precipice where one misstep could lead to disaster. "Cute," Marcus interjected, drawing our attention back to him, the smirk still plastered across his face. "But that's adorable. Loyalty isn't going to save you." He took a steely step forward, the gun now aimed between us, and I felt panic constricting my chest like a vice. "Jason," I breathed, my instincts screaming at me to run. But where would we go? This was a nightmare manifesting before my very eyes, and I couldn't look away. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught my eye. It was a brief silhouette slipping through the doorway behind Marcus. Someone else was here, though I hadn't noticed them before. My heart surged with a mix of fear and hope. Perhaps help was on the way, or just another twist to this grim tale. "Marcus," Jason warned, his voice low yet intensified, "you don't want to do this." But before the words even finished leaving his lips, the newcomer lunged forward, slamming into Marcus with surprising force. The gun went off, an explosion of sound that echoed in the small room and sent shockwaves through my body. As chaos unraveled, I stumbled back, my breath hitching as I stared at the flailing bodies. Was this a moment of savagery or salvation? Anguished cries filled the space as I became a spectator to a surreal tableau, my emotions a tempest surging through my fear, confusion, and a flickering glimmer of hope. "Run!" Jason shouted suddenly as he shoved me towards the door. I hesitated, instinctively wanting to remain near him no matter the outcome of this turmoil. I was tethered to him by threads of newfound connection, fragile yet fierce. But another noise arrested my attention, the sound of sirens closing in, farther now but growing louder by the second. Would the cavalry save us, or would it only plunge us deeper into chaos? Without thinking, I complied, bolting toward the exit. I glanced back just as Marcus regained his footing, enraged. My heart plunged as I heard Jason's voice raise in a frantic plea, "Get out! Now!" I turned and dashed into the night, feeling the cool air wash over me, pulling me into its embrace like a cruel reminder of the safety I once took for granted. Each step was a leap into darkness, uncertainty swirling around me like leaves caught in a fierce wind. As I reached the street, breaths coming quick and deep, I looked behind me and saw him, watched his figure silhouetted against the chaos, strength radiating from him even amid the tumult. But then, a flicker of light caught my eye. A car pulled up, its headlights blinding, and the driver leaned out. "Get in!" Hope sparked momentarily, yet doubt clung to me like a shadow, gnawing at my insides. Was I running to a new threat or a chance at salvation? I stood there, torn between fear and the suffocating strength of an emotional tether I had neither the clarity nor the courage to fully comprehend. "Please," the driver urged again. In that moment, as I stood teetering between choices, I realized I could no longer pretend that my life was simple, that the path ahead was clear. The possibilities had become tangled in an intricate web of danger and desire, and I found myself facing a decision that could seal all our fates. Before I could ponder longer, Jason emerged from the shadows behind me, breathing heavily, his expression a mix of relief and urgency. "Don't leave without me," he said, his voice resolute, and just like that, the threads of our fates tightened, binding us all the more. In an unpredictable world filled with danger and deception, how could I choose between explosive emotions and the safety of newfound connection? The weight of what lay ahead pressed firmly on my shoulders, every second lingering, teetering on an unmade choice that could shatter everything once again. As I stood by the car, my heart thundering in my chest, Jason reached me, his presence a flickering beacon amidst the brutally unraveling chaos. The driver's impatience stood in stark contrast to the tumult that surrounded us, and in that moment, a war raged inside me whether to sprint into the unknown or to clutch the threads of safety that Jason offered. "Get in." The driver implored again, the urgency in their voice ringing with an authenticity that was hard to dismiss, but I took a cautious step back, fixating on Jason's expression. In the flickering streetlight, his face glistened with sweat and resolve, his eyes igniting the kind of fierce loyalty that felt like both a flame and a weight. "What if this is another trap?" I whispered, the fear curling around my throat. "What if we walk into another ambush?" "There's always a risk," he acknowledged, breaking into a sprint of his own. "But we don't have the luxury of waiting around." Jason glanced back towards the building from which we had escaped moments ago, a flick of anxiety crossing his features. "Marcus won't stop until he gets what he wants," he added, practically shaking me with the urgency of his words. "So trust me, please." As I stood there, every fiber of my being craved the warmth of his reassurance while navigating the doubt that crackled through the air like electricity. Each breath was an echo of uncertainty, the world around us blurring into a chaotic haze filled with the distant wail of sirens and the pounding of my heart. Swallowing hard, I faced the reality of ties that bind us. "You could get hurt," I said, my voice quaking. "What if you're putting yourself in danger for me?" Jason's eyes softened, a stark contrast to the wildness of our surroundings, pinning me in place with a steadiness that gave me a moment of peace. "I would rather face any danger with you than lose you to this hell." It was a potent admission, and suddenly the chaos piled on my shoulders, feeling less like an imminent doom and more like a defining moment. The memories of laughter shared, the connection we formed while creating art together, and the visions of a future eclipsed by shadows burst into clarity. I took a step closer to him. "Okay," I finally murmured, the words a lifeline. "Let's do this together." With quick determination, we turned to the car, the driver's features still hidden in the car's shadows. As I climbed into the back seat, Jason slipped in beside me, tension radiating from him like a charged wire ready to spark. He instinctively reached for my hand, and I welcomed the hold, seeking solace in the warmth of our connection as we propelled ourselves toward an uncertain future. The driver sped off, tires screeching as the city blurred past us in a dizzying whirl. Left behind were the remnants of our shattered safety, drifting away like the leaves of a restless tree. Then, I noticed something surprising. The driver's tense posture shifted momentarily, a glance in the rearview that picked at the corners of my anxiety. "You two really know how to draw trouble," they quipped, their voice tinged with a mix of admiration and incredulity. Jason's brows furrowed, eyes locked on the road ahead. "Just get us to safety, right?" the driver replied, lips curling into a half-smile. "But I can't promise you won't have trouble following you. You might want to lay low for a while." "I am not running from this," Jason said, his voice resolute. "We need to confront Marcus. He won't stop hunting us down." The tension in the vehicle tightened like a bowstring, snapping with an unspoken recognition of the path before us. My heart thudded in time with the urgency stifling our breaths. The precariousness of Jason's words swarmed and pressed down on me. At that moment, a desperate plan began to form, a notion that we could turn the game back on Marcus, the man who seemed so infinitely powerful yet was inexplicably tethered to our fate. There was something about how he had issued his threats with a twisted sense of familiarity, a snarled mix of past grievances and unclaimed debts. But what would that plan entail? And would it bind us together or rip apart the very threads of hope we were clinging to? "Where do we go now?" I asked, my heart racing but tinged with a burgeoning resolve. There was a weighty silence that enveloped the car, a palpable shift in the air as tension bled from the atmosphere. "Somewhere Marcus can't touch us," Jason finally replied, glancing briefly at me, his eyes blazing with a fire strong enough to thaw the weight of fear that had settled deep within. "We need to find allies. People who know him, who can help us." Before any fear could set in, he squeezed my hand, the warmth washing over me like a promise of something greater than what we had just escaped. My heart soared, buoyed by the flickering embers of hope and the undeniable pull of adventure. However, I was still conscious of the jagged edges surrounding our situation. Then suddenly, the driver slammed on the brakes. What, I exclaimed, flinging forward against the seatbelt. Shoo. The driver whispered fiercely, glancing nervously out the window. We all leaned forward, our hearts hammering as shadows loomed in the distancia group, moving obliquely through the rain-slick asphalt, silhouettes flashing briefly in the glow of streetlights. That I stammered, fear slicing through the realization. It's Marcus, Jason growled, pulling me closer as he scanned for escape routes, determination interlacing with terror. The revelation struck me like a physical blow, igniting the raw edges of danger all over again. We were closer to confrontation than I ever anticipated, and culmination waited just at the fringes. But he knows we're gone now, I whispered, the pang of panic swelling. You have to trust me, Jason insisted, ice fierce. Whatever happens next, we face it together. And I knew then that there was no going back. Whatever awaited us beyond this moment would either carve a new path or unravel everything we had fought for. But as the shadows loomed closer, a stark truth settled: the fates had intertwined us in a tale far too risky to turn back from. Our lives now a dance of danger and resilience, unfolding as the night deepened, enveloping us in its harrowing embrace. Amidst the storm of emotions, one lingering thought punctured through: the games had only just begun, and Marcus was far from finished. The driver's grip tightened as they veered into a narrow alley, heartbeats echoing like a frantic drum in the stagnant air. Rain tapped against the windshield, blurring the world outside as the shadows drew nearer, pulsing with a lurking danger that made my pulse race. Let's hope he doesn't see us, the driver muttered, their voice barely a whisper, as tension curled in every corner of the vehicle. Each glance exchanged between Jason and me held a storm of emotions: fear, determination, and something else lingering beneath the surface, something too raw to name but electric enough to send shivers up my spine. I leaned into Jason, fighting the urge to spiral into panic. What if this isn't just about you and me anymore? I asked, my voice trembling like a fragile sapling in a gusty wind. What if we've tangled ourselves in something much bigger? Jason caught my gaze, the brilliance of the city lights reflected in his eyes, casting flickering shadows against his intense expression. I know it feels like we're drowning, but we're not alone in this. If we can just reach those allies. He trailed off as his fingers brushed against mine, reminding me of that small warmth amidst the encroaching dark. At that moment, the shadows outside transformed into figures bearing familiarity. A stark realization bordered on horrific as Marcus's men emerged from the depths of the rain, their laughter cutting through the tension like shards of glass. My breath hitched, fear solidifying in the pit of my stomach as I recalled their faces, the very men who had haunted my dreams for too long. This isn't just about us, Jason breathed, framing my face with his hands, urgency radiating between us. We need to move now. But before I could process another thought, the driver lurched forward, attempting to evade the growing throng of figures. Tires squealed against the wet asphalt, and the cacophony of chaos reverberated all around us. Just as we turned, the passenger window shattered into thousands of glittering fragments, a shower of danger that exploded into the car. Go, go! Jason yelled as he shielded me instinctively, his body curled protectively over mine. Caught between the wish to flee and the instinct to confront, I felt simultaneously untethered and anchored adrift in a sea of turmoil. Where to? The driver shouted over the din, panic spilling over into their voice. Even through the adrenaline surging in my veins, a thought emerged sharply: the sparkling shards of glass had not only shattered the window but had also cracked my questions wide open about our future. We need to go to the old warehouse, I blurted, recalling a place Jason had mentioned earlier, a last refuge where old friends might gather, a forgotten hideaway laden with secrets and stories. It's hidden, and somebody there will help. In that instant, Jason nodded, the blaze in his eyes amplifying the conviction within me. Hold on! The driver yelled, and then the world outside turned into a dizzying blur again. With the car skidding through streets I had only known in passing, our past collided with the chaos of the present. The weight of our history, punctuated by laughter and tears inside those very walls, rushed over me, infusing every corner of my fear with a rush of hope. As we neared the warehouse, Jason leaned closer, whispering, I need you to stay close. We don't know who else is here, and I won't let anything happen to you. His words fanned the flickering flames of courage within me. I'm here, I promised, the adrenaline coursing through my veins fighting against the rising panic that threatened to drown me. When the car finally skidded to a halt, I felt the weight of uncertainty crash down, pushing against my chest. I grasped Jason's hand as we spilled out onto the wet ground, the world awash in the scent of rain and the salt of old memories, the warehouse loomed dark and imposing before us. Shadows flickered inside, casting eerie patterns across the ground, and every step toward the door felt like a leap into the unknown. My thighs burned as I propelled myself forward, Jason's presence a fleeting lodestar amid the haze of confusion. Just as we reached the door and Jason pushed it open, a voice rang through the silence, rich and velvety, laced with an ominous playfulness that sent chills rippling down my spine. Well. Look who finally decided to grace us with their presence. My breath caught in my throat as I turned to see Marcus himself stepping forth from the shadows, his men flanking him like wolves prowling their territory. A twisted smile danced across his lips, and his eyes danced with malicious delight, a harbinger of the storm awaiting us. Jason stepped in front of me instinctively, but I could feel the icy grip of dread tightening around my heart. "You've really made a mess of things, haven't you?" Marcus continued, his tone dripping with arrogance, as if our fear was a delightful spectacle meant only for his amusement. The game is only just beginning. In that moment, my hope flickered like a candle caught in a tempest. The stakes had risen higher than I had imagined, and with every breath we took, the fabric of our lives escalated into a reckoning I had never expected. But before I could respond, something flashed in Marcus' eyes, something beyond amusement and menace. It was recognition, the kind that carried with it the weight of memories unspoken, secrets buried deeper than our fears, and I realized, with a jarring lurch in my stomach, that I had walked straight into the heart of a trap. The storm had only just begun, and now chaos danced dangerously close to capturing us within its thrall. The lines drawn in the sand had blurred, and revelations awaited just beneath the surface, shrouded in the darkness of fate's design. As Marcus stepped forward, the chill weaving through the air took hold of me, freezing time for just a heartbeat. My mind raced, desperately trying to process the crushing reality of our situation. Once an abstract figure shrouded in fear, here Marcus stood in the flesh, his presence twisting my thoughts into a helix of dread and disbelief. "Why are you here?" Jason's voice cut through the tension, firm yet edged with just enough bravado to hint at his internal quake. I could feel the tension vibrating between us, a taut line stretched to breaking point, as he placed himself protectively in front of me. "Oh, Jason," Marcus purred mockingly. "Do you really think I'm here for you?" "Always so predictable," he sneered, his gaze drifting toward me. "I have more interesting matters at hand." My heart raced at the implication in his words, the shadow of recognition flickering within me as if I were staring into a distorted mirror. I had seen that glint of curiosity in Marcus' eyes before, a predatory focus that sent shudders down my spine. "What do you want?" I managed to gasp, fear flooding my voice, my legs threatening to buckle beneath me. He took a step closer, the air thick with unspoken threats. "You're on the precipice of something far greater than you can imagine. You've wandered into my realm, seeking allies in a war you don't fully understand. But if you're clever, you might just find that this door swings both ways." Panic squeezed around my throat, and I shifted to look at Jason. A fleeting moment passed between us, unspoken words wrapping around my heart like a noose. I felt the grounding force of his presence, yet doubt pricked at me. Did we truly have allies here, or had we stumbled into a trap woven with deceit? "We're not afraid of you, Marcus," Jason said, his voice echoing with a tremor that betrayed the confidence he tried to project. "Well, fight back." "Fight?" Marcus laughed, the sound rich and cruel, twisting my stomach into knots. "You misunderstand. It's not a fight I seek, but a collaboration and alliance that could turn the tide in my favor, and perhaps, even in yours. Your desperation is palpable, a sweet little perfume of hope that keeps this game exciting." His gaze held mine, a challenge echoing in the depths of his eyes. "Who is willing to die for you? Do you even know?" Every word dripped with malice, yet beneath it simmered a current of something else. Curiosity? A sick thrill at playing God in our lives? But my heart clung to the aching fear that there would be no escape without consequences. "Get out!" I screamed, a guttural rawness escaping me. "We won't be part of your game." With a flick of his wrist, Marcus motioned towards his men, and my heart raced. Nothing about their demeanor suggested retreat. They moved like a shroud of darkness, surrounding us, eyes glimmering with mischief, mouths twisted into grins that told tales of violence. Suddenly, I felt a surge, a primal instinct driving my legs to act. "Run!" I shouted, my voice cracking against the oppressive weight of the moment. Before I could fully comprehend his next move, Jason grabbed my wrist. Adrenaline burned in my chest as he pulled me toward the nearest exit, but our path was quickly blocked by an easy wall of muscular bodies. "Leaving so soon?" One of Marcus' men chuckled, a sinister glint sparking in the low light. Anguish clotted me as I instinctively tightened my grip on Jason's hand, our bond anchoring us in the frantic chaos threatening to unravel everything. No. I pleaded, fighting back tears. We could not lose the glimmer of hope now, not again. Just as I turned to face Marcus one final time, my eyes locked onto his, and in that moment, something shifted. I had seen it, clearer than any promise of escape. Beneath the poised cruelty of his charming facade lay a flicker of something familiar, like a ghost from the past. His smile faltered, just for an instant, and realization gripped me. "You knew my mother," I blurted, the words leaping from my lips with a desperate surge. My veins throbbed with urgency as I tried to connect the dots flitting through my mind. "You knew her." Before everything changed, the laughter of Marcus' men dulled, caught off guard by my outburst, but Marcus' facade slipped, flickering with surprise. "You really have no idea what you've stumbled into," he whispered, his tone shifting from threat to something quieter, more contemplative, as his eyes perused my face with newfound intensity. A sudden thought bloomed within the chaos. Was he holding the key to my mother's secrets? To my own past? It sank into the depths of my heart like a stone, heavy and suffocating. Perhaps beneath the dark layers of his threat, beneath the cruel officer he embodied, there lay a truth that might unravel the tangled web of our lives. But before I could delve deeper, shifting allegiances seemed imminent. Marcus's men surged forward, their intentions clear, anger and greed flickering in their eyes. The palpable tension reached a fever pitch, and time itself slowed to run. Jason's hoarse cry jolted me from my reverie, his determined grip yanking me away from the terrible weight of revelation. The world collapsed behind us as we dodged the looming threat, the door slamming shut to hold back the dark, leaving behind a smattering of regrets and unanswered questions. Breathless, we raced through the damp corridors of the warehouse, uncertainty crackling in the air. We had become pawns in a much larger game, a game layered with our history, secrets, and a connection I hadn't expected. Desperation gnawed my insides. What had Marcus discovered about our lives? As we barreled forward, I could almost hear hope whispering faintly, breaking through the chaos. A promise that this journey was far from over. I just had to remember that truth, even when the storm raged outside, threatening to swallow us whole. But just as we stumbled upon an exit that beckoned freedom, a figure emerged from the hallway, blocking our way. I froze, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. "Thought you could escape so easily?" the person said, and recognition washed over me like ice water. Evelyn, a familiar face from our past, one whose smile had once cradled warmth but now twisted with loyalties unknown. "Evelyn?" I breathed, heart racing, as everything in me screamed that we were tangled in a web that had only begun to unwind. The truth was coming, but would I be ready to face it? The moment hung in the air, sharp and suffocating. There was a cruel rhythm to my heart as I stood confronting Evelyn, the echo of our shared past heavy between us. Once, she had been a close friend, a kindred spirit in the chaos of youth. Now, she stood like a specter, dredged up from the recesses of memory, changed and terrifying. "What are you doing here?" Jason's voice faltered at my side, a raw edge betraying his shock. "You shouldn't be with him." With Marcus. Evelyn's smile was brittle, a porcelain fragment ready to shatter beneath the weight of truth. "Oh, Jason. You never understood how deep the currents run, did you? This isn't just about him. It's bigger than all of us." The flicker of betrayal lanced through me like ice. "You chose to side with Marcus?" I gasped, as memories of laughter and adventure flooded my mind, a naive bond that felt so distant now. "You can't be serious. I am sorry you had to find out like this," she replied, the words coated in weighty sorrow. "But the stakes have changed, and you're not equipped to play this game." "None of us are." "You should have left it alone." Jason's arm tightened around my shoulders, a protective instinct that made me feel safe, yet weighed down by the magnitude of our predicament. "What does that even mean? Why are you working with him?" Evelyn turned her eyes inward, almost as if she were trying to reconcile conflicted memories flickering around her. "Marcus is offering a path that isn't just about survival. It's about power, about reclaiming what was lost." Her eyes flared, alight with something foreign yet intoxicating. "And I need to survive too, don't you see? My life isn't what it seems anymore, Evelyn." I cried, my voice shaking with urgency. "You don't understand what he's capable of. He's manipulating everything around us. You're putting your life in danger." Her laughter dripped with despair and madness, a brittle echo of our shared innocence. "And what do you think you're doing? You're already ensnared in the web, Anna. You just don't know it yet. In that moment, the walls began to close and the air shifting, thickening with impending despair. No longer a mere lackey following orders, Evelyn stood as a wolf in sheep's clothing, her loyalty to Marcus colliding with the ghosts of our past. His face haunted me now. I had glimpsed something within Marcus' fear, regret, flickers of an undiscovered depth that wove uncomfortably with our history. But here, in the present moment, was Evelyn, staunch and unwavering, holding the key to our doom or run. Jason urged still, his voice rising with desperation. He began to lead me back, but Evelyn's eyes flared with an intensity that stopped me cold. I won't let you go. Her voice dropped to a whisper, filled with a steel resolve that was both terrifying and sorrowful. Anna, you're in danger far more than you realize. If you choose to walk away now, everything changes again and not for the better. Confusion coursed through me, battling against the burgeoning dread. What do you mean? I demanded, stepping forward with an urgency I could scarcely contain. What do you know that I don't? But instead of answering, Evelyn took a deep breath. Marcus isn't just seeking power, there's more at stake than any of us could have expected. There are factions at play and alliances that are more dangerous than you can imagine. Panic began to swell again as I faced a choice that felt like an irrevocable fork in my path. You don't have to side with him, Evelyn. Why can't you see the danger? Each word flew out with fragility, singing of hope, even desperation. Maybe I can't, she whispered back, her face flickering like a candle in the dark. Maybe it's the options I've been given, or maybe it's the sweat of fear clinging to my skin. I don't know anymore. I was pulled in and now I can't help but feel that I'm part of something that's going to change everything. And the truth in her voice resonated, echoing long-held fears of fading morality. You can leave, Evelyn. You can still walk away from this. She shook her head, and in that small gesture, something broke inside me. It's not that simple, Anna, she murmured, her eyes glistening. Not anymore. Marcus has the power to expose the secrets hidden in our past, our families, our choice is everything. If we go against him, her voice faltered, and with the weight of the unsaid, I felt the truth sink in. Your family, I breathed, my eyes widening in realization. You're protecting something he knows. That's why you're with him. Her silence screamed louder than any answer could. I turned to Jason, panic clawing again at my insides. We have to go, now. When I glanced back, Evelyn had taken a tentative step towards us, vulnerability etched on her features. Please, just think. You have no idea who's watching or who's connected. You have to tread carefully. Before I could wrap my mind around the maze of her revelations, the distant sound of footsteps echoed down the hall, a collective heaviness underscored by the knowledge that they were closing in. Run! Jason screamed, and I didn't hesitate. I grabbed his hand, fear propelling us forward, but as we passed Evelyn, her voice rang clear, haunting me as we sprinted toward a moment that could seal our fate. If you leave, there's no coming back for any of us. You might not want to know the truth, but it's out there, waiting for you. Suddenly, she darted past us, disappearing down another corridor, and I lost all sense of time as we surged forward, the sound of chasing footsteps closing in like a tormenting choir. In that moment, I felt the stakes deepen, the veils of my life growing thinnest where the truth beckoned just beyond my reach, daring me to uncover it, even as danger loomed larger and more insistent with every shaky breath. As we burst through the exit, my heart raced, not just from the fear of Marcus's wrath, but from the dawning realization that the truth awaited me somewhere within that tangled web, with Evelyn, with Marcus, perhaps even with myself. And in the silence after the storm, the lingering shadows whispered, urging me to question everything I believed. But then, just as I thought what escaped, I caught sight of a figure retreating into the darkness, and a cold chill swept through me. Jason's hand tightened. What now? He asked, voice gravelly with effort. Wait, I breathed, eyes narrowing. Just ahead, a silhouette turned, a flash of familiarity igniting realization, and suddenly, I was back where it all had begun, dangling on the precipice of an unforgiving truth. Marcus! I gasped, unable to comprehend why his presence felt more like a revelation than a threat, and against all reason, I knew that whatever lay ahead, the convergence of our paths was about to rewrite everything once again. The air was thick with tension as I stared at Marcus, who stood there, a ghostly figure wreathed in shadows. Fear battled with something deeper within me, a need for answers that had been buried in the midst of this chaotic storm. I took a tentative step forward, my heart racing. What do you want from us? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Marcus' lips curled into a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. I want nothing from you, Mia, not anymore. What I want is to see the truth unveiled, to shed light on the secrets shrouding your family. His words roared in my head, echoing in the cavern of my thoughts. That truth beckoned elusive, taunting me just out of reach, urging me to reach for it even as it threatened to unravel everything I held dear. You can't threaten us into submission, Marcus, Jason said fiercely, positioning himself slightly in front of me like a shield fashioned from strength and resolve. The sparks between us flared, igniting an ancient connection that had begun before we even knew it, yet here we were, on the brink of chaos, woven intricately into a narrative that neither of us chose. This isn't about threats, Jason, Marcus said, his voice dark and melodic. It's about power. You've both become essential to this game, and it's one you don't even begin to understand. But know this, truth and lies are intertwined in ways that you cannot imagine. Don't you dare manipulate us. I shouted, the words bursting forth like a balloon pinched to breaking anything to break this cycle of control. And to my surprise, the instinct to confront him bolstered within me, igniting a flicker of defiance deep in my soul. But Marcus' expression turned urgent. You think you can simply walk away from all of this? My pulse quickened as fear laced his words, awakening an underlying dread etched in my bones. The shadows whispered warnings while I stood there rooted to the spot, entangled in a dance between doubt and resolve. Jason edged closer to me, senses attuned, ready to fight if need be. What do you know about my family? I pressed, needing to peel away whatever layers of deceit enveloped us both. I could smell the tension rising, each breath punctuated by unvoiced secrets lurking just beneath the surface. What you don't understand, Mia, is that there are players in this game far bigger than you two, he began. Your mother's past is intertwined with mine, infinitely tangled in wealth and misfortune. It's why I sought you out, because you hold the key to everything we've lost. We were both abandoned by the very institutions that promised hope, and it's time we turned the tide. The weight of his words sank in, a revelation pulling at the strings of my heart. In that moment, the fragile tapestry of my life began to knit itself back together as the past merged with the present, transforming into a survival instinct I had long buried. Why should I trust you? I murmured, glancing at Jason, seeking his steadfast gaze amidst the upheaval. Marcus stepped closer, intensity threading his tone. Because you have nothing to lose anymore. Your understanding of your family's past is fragile. Delve deeper, and you will find the truth that could empower you both. Jason's grip on my hand tightened, a lifeline amidst the chaos, as the battle raged within the threads of fear and resolve weaving a complex tapestry of choices. Mia, don't listen to him. Jason implored, eyes piercing through the uncertainty. He's using you, but the whisperings of uncertainty cascaded through me, and despite the flickering terror in my heart, I pressed Marcus further. What do you mean there's something bigger? It's about legacy. Your mother, Anna, was once a powerful player, more than just a name buried in legacy. She was tarnished by betrayal, but it's time to reclaim what was unjustly stripped from us. The inheritance she once safeguarded is at risk, and I need your help to recover it. Each word unfurled my heart, stretching farther than I thought possible. What if there was a truth I had been deliberately kept from? A fact woven within the memories I could barely grasp? A chance to break free from the chains that had clung to me for so long? No! Jason interrupted, a tempest of protective fury rushing forward. Don't you dare use her. You're only looking for someone to manipulate into your game. His voice dropped low, vibrating with Malicito. Do your dirty work. Marcus shot back a glare, a cauldron of danger simmering within his eyes. I need neither of you as pawns. I need you as allies. Together, we can force the world to reckon with the legacies tied to our names. It's bigger than you can fathom. For a fleeting moment, I felt the storm of emotions erode the barriers I'd built, leaving me porous to their currents. This was more than a life of art and pain. It was about legacy, about telling a story that had been silenced far too long. But which side to choose? Whose legacy would I claim? An alliance? I echoed, looking between them, embodying the weight of an untold choice, while Jason's eyes implored me not to surrender. Before I could respond, sirens blared in the distance, reverberating through the quiet that loomed around us. The game had become far more dangerous than any of us anticipated. We'd crossed into a territory threaded both with danger and possibility. An opportunistic smile spread across Marcus' face. Choose wisely, Mia. You may just find the truth is more liberating than you dare to believe. The words hung heavy in the air, crystallizing the choices that stretched out before me like an endless road. I could either leap into the abyss of integrated destiny with a chance to reclaim a life I had only glimpsed in passing, redefined by truth and purpose, or turn away entirely, returning to a fate I already understood, albeit one burdened with heartache. Come with me, Mia, Jason murmured, his grip tightening again. We'll find another way. But I hesitated, grappling with the ghosts of legacy and loyalty fighting for breath within my chest. Every moment stretched taut, and as I stood there, raw and exposed, I knew this decision would ripple across our lives far beyond anything we could foresee. And so, with a heart laden with the weight of knowing, I turned to face both men, a single truth hanging precariously on the edge of my voice. I'll find my own truth. And with that, I stepped into the storm, ready to face whatever shards of reality came crashing toward me, knowing my journey to reclaim that legacy was just beginning. I felt Jason's hand slip away as shadows thickened, a reminder that we thrived amidst the chaos. And as I faced the unknown, I breathed the words that turned the tide: let's uncover whatever lies inside. In that decisive moment, the winds howled around me, stitching a new path into existence, one pulsing with the electricity of possibility. Together we'd face the future fueled by truth and a legacy far greater than either of us imagined. And in the haunting silence that followed, the last echoes whispered, the journey begins now.